Hey folks, Jeff Barnes here, Angel Investors Network, Angels Exits and Acquisitions Podcast. Listen, I want to get right into it today. I heard something from somebody yesterday that kind of made me just, really question a lot of things. Somebody I'm talking to, it's an investor, somebody that puts a lot of money into a lot of different deals, startups primarily, but, obviously anybody who's put money in startups, put money elsewhere too. And said something to me that I thought was really interesting. He said that he finds this gap in the ability to get funded for these really early stage companies, these pre-revenue companies. And, I was actually kind of blown away by that because here I am, the guy that's saying, listen, there's so much opportunity at the early stage right now that we've kind of moved and changed our business model. So we don't focus on just the early stage things anymore. And, the reason we did that is, well, there's a lot of reasons for it, but I'll tell you the number one reason is because there's more money now than there's ever been in all of human history, right? The government's just been printing it like crazy. It's gone somewhere, right? Maybe it hasn't gone into your account. Maybe you don't have it right now. But there's money out there. Trillions and trillions of dollars sitting on the sidelines of private equity. Like last I checked, was around $4 trillion in dry powder sitting in private equity. There is tens of trillions of dollars, hundreds of trillions of dollars sitting in retirement accounts in the United States and around the world. There is more money sitting in banks and sitting on balance sheets. And then there's the crypto billionaires that have been minted from everything from Galvin and Bitcoin and Ethereum and all these different tokens that are out there. I mean, there's so much money out there in the world right now that it's not a problem of, oh, there's no money for these early stage startups. No, what it is, it's lack of resourcefulness, right? So, if you're an investor, if you're somebody who has capital, you already know there's money in your bank account, there's money in your investments. You have money at all different types of places. You probably have 5 different bank accounts, a few different investment accounts, real estate properties, businesses, things like that. There's money everywhere. And the fact is that so many of these people are so myopic that they think, oh, well, startups are struggling to raise money. Startups are struggling to raise money, not because of the fact that there's no money. They're struggling to raise money because of the fact that they suck. All right. Like, let's just be really clear. I get pitched every single day. All right. And the fact is that there are good startups out there. There are good companies out there. There are good operators out there. And that's a small minority of them. There's a shitload of companies out there that absolutely suck. And those companies are the ones that are complaining, oh, there's no money for me. Woe is me. Poor me. I'm a startup. No one will invest in me. Listen, I got pitched the other day from somebody who falsely filled out a form of ours saying she was an investor and looking for investment opportunities, only to find out that what she really needs is money. And this happens all the time. So, I'm not a stranger to that. I know that's going to happen because people who are resourceful are going to do everything they can to try and find the money. But you know what this chick said? This chick's like, I'm a quintrillionaire already. I've already minted 15 quintillion tokens and I own all of them. I already am worth all this money, but I need your help so that I can actually take my idea to the market. Do you see the disconnect here? That's a level of crazy I can't deal with. All right. People are so fucking delusional. They don't even think about what is actually going on in the real world. You see, Napoleon Hill, when he wrote the Science of Success, of course, he wrote Think and Grow Rich, but the Science of Success. And one of his areas that he focused on in Think and Grow Rich, in the Science of Success and the Laws of Success, all these different things, was accurate thinking. You see, so many people are delusional. Delulu for you younger kids that don't understand what the real grammar and the real dictionary is out there. These delusional people seem to think because they have an amazing idea that everybody should fund them. And it drives me nuts. Honestly, it's one of the reasons that there is a lack of people willing to invest in startups. See, the fact is that when you are delusional, when you think that your idea is the best idea since sliced bread, since the wheel, since fire, then no one is going to believe you, all right? Now, there's a good thing and a bad thing to that, but here's what I'm saying. If you think that what you have is the most unique, one-of-a-kind, incredible opportunities, no one's ever thought of this before in the entire history of humankind, and no one's ever going to think about it again, you are so unique, you're so brilliant, then you've done a couple of things to really disarm yourself, right? Take away any opportunity of actually being successful. And you've done a complete disservice to yourself as well. When you do this, you put yourself on this pedestal way up here, as if you are Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs, whatever, right? You think that you're smarter than everybody else because you're the one that's come up with this incredible fucking idea. And because you come up with this idea and because you're so much smarter than everybody else, no one else is going to get it. Of course, you should just trust me. You should just invest in me because I'm smarter than you. I know what I'm doing. You obviously don't. Bullshit, right? People that have made money, even though I know plenty of dumb people that have made a lot of money because they've been in the right place at the right time, they had a skill set that they were able to utilize to make money. All right. Most people don't have money that, even if you made a lot of money and you didn't build up a skill set over time, then you lose it, right? The lottery winners. What is it? Over half of them end up going bankrupt. I don't even remember the number. It's something crazy. They end up losing all their money. Why? Because they never got these money skills. They never learned how to bring in the capital. They never learned how to keep it. They never learned how to stop spending it on bullshit. And so as a result, anybody who wins the lottery or gets a windfall from a trust account, trust fund baby, whatever, and they didn't learn how to manage money, they lose it all, right? They invest it, they piss it away, they go buy stupid cars. It's why the NFL, it's why every major league sports team out there actually has programs designed for rookies to say, hey, you're about to get money for the first time in your life. Here's what not to do with it. Now, do they listen? Most of them don't, right? They piss it away. They end up getting out of the league in a few years because they're not as good as they thought they were. And then they're broke, right? And they're going and working at Home Depot and trying to figure out whatever job they can get because they were hoping that, being an athlete was going to take them through this entire career and they're going to be the next Tom Brady. And sorry, not everybody's that great. Sorry to piss on your parade. Listen, and I know I'm fired up right now, guys, but I hear stupid shit all the time. And normally I keep it to myself. But guess what? You know what? Somebody was telling me, and I love this. This is my show. You don't like it, leave. All right. If you don't like these truths being spit at you, then that's totally fine. You don't have to listen to me. You can go somewhere else. Not a problem with that at all. But I'm going to tell you, after seeing thousands, literally thousands of different businesses, I've been inside these businesses. I've talked to thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs. I've worked with thousands and thousands of investors. And I can say that with a completely straight face because I've held event. I can't even talk today. I've hosted events. I have coached people. I have invested in companies. I've raised capital myself. I have been on the circuit. I have done the roadshows. I've done all this stuff, right? And so I put in the fucking work and I did not like it. I'll tell you, the first time I went to raise money, like outside of my grandma rejecting me when I asked her for money the very first time, the first time I really tried to raise money and go and buy a real estate property, I had a panic attack before I went in, okay? A full-blown panic attack. And this is after 6 years in the military, being on a submarine, traveling around the world, underwater in a giant black tube, sleeping next to a fucking torpedo, working on a nuclear power plant, scuba diving, being a Navy diver and all sorts of stuff. I still had panic attacks when I thought about going and talk to people about raising money. Okay. You see, it's not because the person I was talking to was so scary and intimidating. It's because it was a skill set that I didn't have yet. I needed to learn that skill set. I needed to go and figure this shit out. And now there's even more money out there. And there's more people with millions and millions of dollars that are willing to put in 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, 500,000, $1 million. Listen, just last week, we got down to the wire on a deal. It's a real estate transaction. We had that money in by Monday. Okay. And we'd exhausted a lot of other people. I have a database. Of course, I'm emailing people and letting them know, hey, we have this incredible opportunity. We're paying you a killer return right now. For a lot of people, it's like too good to be true. The first email reply I get is, well, if you can't even fund your own deal, why would I fund it for you? It's like, listen here, asshole. All right. We've already put $2.1 million into this deal. We've been going on, and we've been trying to limit the amount of equity we're giving up in this. We've been trying to limit our exposure on this deal. We've been trying to do everything we can to bootstrap this thing as much as we possibly can. But now, in order to get this $20 million injection of capital, we need to cover a $500,000 shortfall. So if you don't want to be part of it, that's fucking fine, but don't be a dick about it, all right? So, but we put this out. Lo and behold, one of my friends says, hey, I got a guy that might be interested. Call him up, talk to him on Friday. We have a meeting with him. One of our partners has a meeting with him on Saturday. Monday, he looks over everything, wires the money, right? I did not know this guy on Friday. Okay, Friday of last week, I did not know him. Monday morning, he's signing the documents. Money's wired over. We have the money in the bank account by Tuesday. No true story. You can look it up. We can verify it. That's, you don't have to believe me if you don't want to. But that is what happens when you are resourceful, when you know what the you're doing, when you are trustworthy, when people believe you. See, you delusional people out there, you don't realize this, but you have lost everyone's trust when you open your mouth. No one believes you. You start talking about your $1 billion idea, your $1 billion valuation, your unicorn, your Pegasus, when you haven't sold a single thing. All right. You haven't even proven that you have an idea that people want to buy, right? A product, a service, a technology. I don't care what it is. It could be, we all talk about the cure for cancer. Listen, we all know the cure for cancer is, prevention in the first place. Don't wait until you have cancer to go get it fixed. That's just my little soapbox for this morning as I sit here and drink my coffee before everybody gets up and get really fired up. The fact is, we use that term cure for cancer because we've been searching for what, 100 years now? We've never found it. Bullshit. People know what the cure is. There's just no money in it because being healthy and living an active lifestyle and eating the right foods and not ingesting a whole bunch of crap and staying active and working out and all of this and getting the appropriate amounts of vitamin D and going out in the sunshine and all this other well, there's no fucking money in that for pharmaceutical companies, so they don't sell it, right? But my little Ireland mug. So went to Ireland a couple weeks ago, actually a month ago now, with my wife. Was in New York, went to the New York Stock Exchange, had a great meeting, had a few conversations, talked to a bunch of investors and said, hey, you know what, honey, let's go ahead and fly out to Dublin. It was amazing. Had a great time. I'd never been to Ireland. She's been once before. We couldn't wait to go back. And since the of COVID has finally subsided a little bit, well, actually, mostly completely, we decided to go to Ireland and it was really fun. There's a little segue in here, but one of the things that I did when I was in my early 20s, right, when I was like 20 years old, 21, is I was working in the Navy. I was busting my ass, literally sleeping at work, right? When you're on a submarine, you don't get to leave. You're there at work all the time. And I realized, man, I do not like this life of having to work for money every single day of my life and not making enough to actually do the things I want to do in life. And that sets me on this entire path. I'm not going to go down today, but it set me on this path of I need to learn how to make money. Need to learn the language of money and what does money look like and how do we make it and how do we keep it and how do I live the lifestyle I really want. And that set me on this path because I was like, you know what? I don't want to work the next 40 years of my life to be in my 60s or 70s maybe, and then retire only to make half of what I was barely surviving on in the first place. And then ultimately, maybe when I'm in my 60s or 70s, go have fun with my life. That. That sounded terrible. That was my why right there. That was my why for figuring out how to make money. I want to go actually have fun in my life, right? We only got one life to live. So let's enjoy it, right? Let's enjoy it as much as we possibly can. This is the first time I got to go to Ireland, and it's nice because my wife and I haven't been able to do international travel since we first met the week before COVID shut everything down. Ask me how pissed off I am about that whole situation, the whole thing. But that's a conversation for another day. So anyway, going back to Ireland, we're in Ireland. You know what? We went to this mug from the Cliffs of Moher. I know it's the traditional. Yeah, I'm sure anybody who's Irish like you're buying some tourist trinket. Yeah, that's what we do. All right, we have to have some sort of memory. And since I don't really drink that much anymore, I can't go buy shot glasses and beer mugs anymore. It's coffee mugs. Sorry. So the fact is that when you're in Ireland, there's all sorts of amazing things, right? We went to the Cliffs of Moher, we went to the Guinness brewery and factory and all that sort of stuff. That was amazing. St. James Gate. We went to the Brazen Head, the oldest pub in Dublin, which has been around for like 1,000 years now. 900 years, I think, is around what it is. Not the same name, of course. It's just been a pub at that location for like 900 years, which is fucking awesome. And we went out to the Burren. We went to County Clare. All sorts of cool stuff, right? The coolest, craziest thing was for me was driving in Ireland. All right, so we got a stick shift. Yes, some Americans still know how to drive those things for any Europeans out there. And it was great. It's on the left-hand side and driving on the right-hand, the wrong side of the road, the left-hand side of the road. And everything was kind of crazy. But the funny thing about Ireland is that, one, they don't really believe in a lot of street signs. Two, when you're out in the country, the roads are like this wide. Like you can barely fit one car down the roads. And blind corners everywhere and hedges on the side. And you're swerving. You're trying to get out of the way of people running off to the side of the road as much as you can to let somebody else pass you by. And, the maps out there, I mean, Google decided to take us a few weird routes. But, when you're out there, life is just very different than it is here. Okay. In a lot of different ways, a lot of little tiny things that as Americans, we wouldn't even think about. I'm not going to go into too many details, but where I'm going with this is that, when you go and experience somebody else's culture, when you go and you talk to these new other people that you have nothing in common with that you think going into it, but you go in there with an open mind, you get to learn their culture, you get to hear them. You learn a lot of different things. You learn how to communicate with people. You learn how to work with people. You learn how to talk. You learn different language. We obviously don't speak a different language in Ireland, but thick accents is kind of fun to deal with. And you learn to be resourceful because you don't have the same amenities, the same things you need. So here's an example. We go to this Airbnb. My wife books it. She thought it looked cute. It was out in the countryside. It's out in Cork, outside of Cork, and beautiful and everything like that. We show up and it's this tiny little like concrete square box with a door and window, and you have to unlock the door from the outside and the inside, and it's like single pane glass. And this dude shows up, and this dude with a thick Ukrainian accent is asking us all these questions, like kind of interrogating us, like we're not supposed to be there, something like that. So it gives my wife the heebie-jeebies, right? Now there's no security cameras, there's no street lights, we're in the middle of nowhere, right? We're miles from any town, and it's beautiful as far as countryside goes, like a stone wall that's probably been there for 1,000 years. I don't know, is still there, and she gets completely freaked out, right? But on top of that, you go in and there's like one bedroom that they didn't even put anything in. There's no bed, there's no sofa, there's no nothing, and there's just like an empty bedroom with an old wooden floor. And the other room is completely janky. And then we go in the shower, and the shower is one of those things that this building was built before there was indoor plumbing and indoor electricity, I'm pretty sure. So they had to put everything in and retrofit everything. And so there's these little pumps that are sitting on the wall in the shower, and you have to turn the pump on, and then you have to turn the water on, you have to turn to the temperature you want, all this sort of stuff. And the water just trickles out, like just barely trickles out. Okay, this is kind of silly, but we'll deal with it. We need to wash our clothes. I've been gone for a week at this point. So there's a washer there. I look at it thinking, oh, it must be, because there's no dryer next to it. Tiny itty bitty little washer. And I've seen these things in New York and different places. Like, okay, it's an all-in-one, and washes your clothes and dries them. So I go to turn it on, looking at it, different configuration, whatever. But it's so small. And then it's like a 3-hour cycle. I'm like, well, it must be drying it as well. So we go out, come back, go to get the clothes out, thinking they're going to be dry. No, soaking wet. This sucks. All right, well, how do people dry their clothes out here? Well, I guess they just hang them out to dry because there were clotheslines out there. Again, it's like a blast from the past here, and we don't even think about that stuff, but we figured it out. Unfortunately, it ended up raining on us that night, so our clothes didn't dry out. It was kind of a miserable experience, but those are the stories you get to tell, right? Anyway, why am I going down this rabbit hole? Why am I talking about this? When you don't have the things you need in your life, you figure it out, okay? So many people in this day and age have been spoon-fed so much bullshit from the moment they were fucking born, even before they were born, right? All the moms trying to be healthy in every way, which is great. I commend that. But then they go make dumb decisions and they start injecting themselves and taking fucking drugs like Tylenol and acetaminophen, which they've known for a long fucking time is not good for you, by the way. If you're watching the news at all, maybe start doing some research before you start putting anything into your body at all. Maybe just a 5-minute Google search would be fine. Anyway, you become resourceful, right? And so when they become resourceful and they start spoon feeding all this bullshit to their kids from the earliest age, they don't want to let their kids fail. They don't want to let their kids suffer in any way, shape, or form. Dumbest fucking idea in your entire life, by the way. Your kids need to suffer. Failure is how we learn. It's how we grow. Even just looking at, your body, when you go to work out, you have to break down the muscle for it to build back up and get stronger, right? You can't just like do 5-pound curls for your entire life and expect to turn into fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger. It doesn't work that way. So nature has designed us to fail and suffer, and that is how we learn. I have failed and suffered more times than I care to count. I keep joking. I wish I would stop getting life's lessons and I'd just get to the end and know the lessons. That's not the way it works, right? We have to constantly suffer and grow and learn. That is life. That is the journey. Comes down to raising capital. Same thing. If you have been spoon-fed a bunch of bullshit and you believe that you are the greatest thing since sliced bread and you can do no wrong, and oh, by the way, you were born into a night. And if you're in the United States, I don't even care if unless you are completely below the poverty line, which I know some of you are that are watching this. That's understandable. But if you're that person, guess what? You have a leg up on life because you have grit, you have resilience, you've had to deal with shit that people won't even understand. But if you live in the United States, you have such an amazing fucking life compared to so many people around the world, let alone everyone throughout all of human history. I mean, geez, indoor plumbing alone. Just think about that. Electricity, the fact that you're watching a fucking video right now on your phone that's in your pocket from anywhere in the world, it's amazing. Like, you got to think about this shit. And unfortunately, the way the human body is conditioned, the way the human mind is conditioned, we are designed to suffer, and that's how we learn. So if you did not suffer, if you're not letting your kids suffer, if you didn't suffer at all when you were early on, then you come up with these delusional fucking ideas that you're amazing, and these ideas of grandeur, delusions of grandeur, not illusions, but delusions of grandeur. And you think that the investor that you're talking to is hard for not investing in you. And if I offend you with what I say, get over it, all right? Or leave, I don't care. So the fact is that You cannot be a delusional capital raiser. And I also don't want you to be a delusional investor thinking that the first time somebody gives you a pitch and it sounds amazing, that it's going to go just to plan. It doesn't work that way. I've been scammed out of hundreds of thousands of dollars because I believe people, right? You have to do your due diligence. And if somebody's going to do due diligence on you, guess what? That means you, as the capital raiser, you need to be out there figuring out how to solve all the problems and I'll answer all the questions before they ever come up, which means you can't just go ask people for money and expect them to give it to you. This is what I mean when I say the guy that I'm talking to is like, hey, there's this big gap at the early stage. No, there's not a gap in money. There's not a gap in number of people willing to fund deals. There's a gap in competent operators and people that know what the they're doing and starting a business so they can actually raise money effectively. There is, I mean, we changed the rules, right? Obama back in 2012 wrote the Jobs Act. Well, he didn't write it. I know the people that wrote it. He didn't write it. He just signed a thing. And then, we got the Reg CF, we got Reg A plus, we have, the 506C offerings. There's more ways out there than ever before to raise money. There's also more opportunities than ever before to invest. This is the challenge. You still have to beat your way through the rest of the crowd to the front of the line and get people to pay attention and notice you and then like what you have to say. And you have to be so competent at what you do and so good at what you do that they are willing to invest and write a check. Okay. That is the gap right now. The gap is not in money. The gap is not in people. The gap is not in resource. The gap is in resourcefulness. I hear too many people whining and fucking complaining and just looking for somebody to invest in their deal, right? And they haven't learned how to do sales. They haven't learned how to sell their product. They haven't learned how to figure out if people even want to buy their product, let alone selling it. They haven't figured out anything about capital raising. They don't know the first damn thing about it, which is fine. You don't need to know the first damn thing about capital raising. I say this in one of my diatribes on, is that, if you want to go out there and start raising capital because you don't have any and you need to start a business, fucking don't. It's a terrible idea. Don't go learn how to raise capital because you want to start a business. Go start a business. Figure out how to start creating your product, your service, your technology. Bootstrap the fuck out of it. Go get a job somewhere else, learning how to do what it is you want to do if that's what your heart is set on. And then become amazing at that. You see, the people that are the most successful at raising capital are the ones who are amazing at what they do, and then they needed capital to go further, not to get out of the starting blocks, okay? You can't go and hire an Olympian coach to teach you how to run your first 100-meter dash, all right? You have to go out there and practice and train and get really fucking good at it for a long time before you are finally worthy enough to get that Olympian level coach, okay? Same thing. You are not worthy to get money straight out there. If this is the first time you've ever raised money, it's the first time you've run a business, first time you've done anything, then go get some fucking experience first. Go trip a little bit. Go fail a little bit. Go create some stories. Go create some experiences with what you're doing and what you're building so that you can go back to these investors and say, these are all the things that we found were wrong with this industry. Here are the problems. Here are the challenges. Here's how we're going to solve it. Here's the number of people that are looking to buy this thing. How do we know that? Because these people are already buying it. We're already selling it. We're in beta right now. We have X number of users or product sales or whatever. We have a pipeline this long. Whatever the fucking number is for you, figure it out. And then say, the reason we're raising capital is because we're trying to go farther faster, not because we're trying to get out of the starting blocks. You see, if you're raising capital, then you need to have a good story, a good pitch, a good presentation, and you need to back it all up with real facts, accurate thinking. Don't be delusional. And if you are on the other side of that conversation and you are the investor, just ask a few questions. Okay, so how much capital have you raised so far? Oh, none. I'm going to be your very first investor. All right. Now, friends and family and fools are the first investor. That's the triple F round, friends, family, and fools. So if you don't know this person from Adam, they just solicited you on the street or at some event or a networking party or whatever, and you're going to be the first money in the door, don't. Just don't. All right. Sorry to tell you guys, all of you out there who are trying to raise money and you hear this from me, just don't. Okay. Don't be the investor who puts the first dollar in if you don't know this person. You don't know their work habits yet. You don't know how reliable you are, how trustworthy they are. You don't know if they're capable yet, right? Some people are capable at spinning a yarn, right? They're amazing at telling you how great they are, but they're not capable of running a business. They're not capable of raising capital. They're not capable of running a team or managing people or leading anybody. They're just great at telling a great story. And if you invest in that, shame on you, your fucking fault. All right. I did that. I'm not going to lie. I did that with my early stage investments initially, and I learned, right? Again, We have to suffer to learn sometimes. It's, God, the universe, whatever you want to say, the creator is kicking you, hitting you across the top of the head saying, I'm trying to teach you the lessons, but you choose to keep doing the wrong thing. I guess that's how you're going to have to learn, right? Just the way it is. So, lesson for today, there's no resource gap when it comes to early stage capital. There's none, right? There's millions and millions and millions of people out there that have millions, tens of millions of dollars, collectively trillions of dollars. I guarantee you, okay? I've seen it. I've seen the numbers. I've seen bank statements of people who have hundreds of millions of dollars in their bank account. They have multiple bank accounts like that. The money exists, all right? That's not the issue. What doesn't exist is grit, perseverance, motivation, ambition, the willingness to put in the hours and do the hard work. The resourcefulness gap is what's missing. So don't come whining and crying to me because Jeff wanted to put his, the first money in your deal. Don't go whining and crying to anybody else. Just figure it out. Realize that there are tools and resources out there, and there are incubators and accelerators. There's crowdfunding platforms, all this, right? There is so many resources out there. The only reason you fail is because you are not resourceful. All right, go crush it. Have a great day.